Hi guys, it's Jo here with another Time for Tea Designs video. And before we get into today's project, I do just want to announce the winner of last week's giveaway. So the giveaway that we had was to win the card that we made during our last Facebook Live, which was this one with the hamsters. And the question that you had to answer in order to win the card was, what was the background stamp that we used in this project? And the answer was the squiggly giggly A7 background stamp. So we had lots of entries, and I randomly selected a winner from the comments from the video, and our winner was... It was Mrs. Stationery and Stuff. So congratulations to you, lovely. We'll be in touch with your prize. So there will be another prize at the end of the video today. So keep watching to find out how you can win another card from us. But for now, we're going to start with the first of two projects today. So I'm making two projects using the same stamp set. So this is two different ways that you can use one stamp set. And the stamp set that we're using is the new Storms Don't Last stamp set. So this is a really fun rainbow stamp set. And I'm going to use it in combination with one of our new Slimline dies. So this is the Aperture Slimline die. And you can see here that I have already cut this out of some really pretty teal coloured cardstock. So this is it's a longer die. So what I was just letting everyone know is that you can pop this through one of your smaller die cutting machines. Don't feel that you're ruled out of using these Slimline dies just because you have a smaller machine. All you need to do is run that through twice. So just shift your die down ever so slightly, and that will fit through your machine without any problems. So I'm just moving on to doing a little bit of stamping. So this is one of the little rainbow stamps that's in the set. And I've used that Aperture die just to help me line up where I want each of those little images to sit. So you can see here that I'm getting those positioned within the center of each of those apertures. And then the middle aperture, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So the Storms Don't Last Forever, which is the name of the stamp set that we're using, fits perfectly within one of those squares. And I'm going to use some of my mustard seed distress oxide ink to stamp that in. So we've got a really nice, colourful set of stamped images. Within the set is this really cute little face, and I love adding little faces to our little images, and this is a really fun way of just adding a bit of character to those rainbows. So I've used some of my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp those faces on, and that gives a really nice, crisp, clean stamped impression. This stamp set does come with a coordinating die set, and the coordinating dies are really, really cool because you can use them in conjunction with your stamped image, but you could also use them on their own. So I'm just using the two cloud dies that come within the set to cut out some cloud shapes. And I'm going to cut several of these. So you can see here, I'm just using a scrap piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to cut several of those out while I add some foam tape to the back of that Slimline die cut. And I'm just going to pop that onto my DL card base. So this is a DL card blank that I'm using today, but these dies do fit the US slimmer version of the Slimline cards that are very popular at the moment. And I'm just thinking about where I want to position all of my clouds now that I've cut those out. So I'm happy with the positioning, and I'm going to use a combination of my foam pads and my liquid glue to adhere those in place. So where they overhang that little aperture, I'm going to add some foam tape because that will stop them from dipping into that space. So on the little one at the side, I've just added some of that liquid glue, and then this bottom one, again, I'll just add an extra little bit of foam tape just to make sure that that doesn't bow when it's added to the front. So this is, the card's almost complete at this point, and this is what I really love about this set. We're just being able to do a little bit of die cutting and some really simple stamping, and we've got a really pretty and effective card. So the last thing to do is to just add some embellishments, and I've got these iridescent raindrop gems, I suppose you would call them, to add to the front of the card. And this just really goes well with the theme of rain and rainbows and the clouds. They're just really nice, got a nice rainbow finish to them when they catch the light. These are back in store as well. We were out of stock of these, but we do have a few in store, but not very many. So if you like the look of these, then do grab them quick. And I'm just positioning those randomly along the front of the card, and using some of my glossy accents to stick those in place, because that is a clear adhesive, and it won't, it then won't, you know, it's got a really good grip, but it won't then show any of that adhesive underneath our little gems. The finishing touch then for the clouds is to add some of our stickles. So this is almost like a glittery glue, and this provides a really nice glittery finish to the edges of those clouds. And this is the frosted lace colour that I'm using, and that's just finished those off really nicely. So that's the first of our cards today complete. Really pleased with how that turned out. Really simple, but really effective. So we're moving on to the second project that we did during the Facebook Live, and I'm going to use the rainbow pattern. So in the stamp set, you get 3 different rainbow stamps, so rainbow arches, and you can then use those and make up your own colour scheme for your rainbow. But I wanted to start with my background. So to do that, I'm going to use this masking stencil. So this is the large square masking stencil. And I was just checking that it was the right size to fit our rainbow in the middle. And it is the perfect size for our project today. And I'm going to use some of my tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink, and using one of our beautiful blender brushes just to apply really light coverage of this ink. This is such a great project. Both of these are really great because they just require some inks, a little bit of stamping and some die cutting, which I really think is a really great project to do, and something that I don't do an awful lot of. This is one of very few cards that I've ever made that doesn't have any colouring involved. So I'm just talking through the different stamps here that are within the set, and I'm just pointing out these little raindrops. And you can see on the packaging there is a little line around those. That line is not meant to be there, but it does appear on your stamps. So when you die cut them, it's not an issue. You can use the coordinating die, and it will just pull out those little raindrops. But you will need to snip around this particular stamp if you don't want to stamp the line onto your background, which is what I've done here. So it's a really simple fix, just to cut around the edge of that. They're really tough, well-made stamps, so you won't get any tearing, you won't have any issues with that. And you can see here that when I just use that same tumbled glass Distress ink, and stamp these randomly on my background, what a pretty pattern that makes. And it's such a sweet and simple background. It's really, really lovely, and definitely something that I'm going to be doing again. So I'm just cleaning off my my masking stencil there, and just removing that, and remove the tape. And now I'm thinking about what colours I want to use for my rainbow. So I've decided in the end that I'm going to use the coordinating dies with this. So we're not going to do any stamping of that, because we've got our background now. So, and I want to create a bit of dimension. So I'm going to use some coloured cardstocks. Again, this is something that I don't do a lot of, but I really want to do more of because it looked so pretty and was so effective. And I was just able to use some little scraps of card that I'd got in my stash, because the dies are a really nice small size. So I'm just trimming my cardstock to size, and using some of my rainbow washi tape to just adhere that into place so that they don't shift around on my plates. But all 3 of those will go through my smaller die cutting machine in one pass, which is perfect. So now I've got my arches and I'm just lining those up to see whereabouts they'll be positioned. And I want to add a little bit more decoration to these. So we will do that using the extra stamps that are in the set. But first of all, I'm just thinking about my sentiment and those clouds. And I did have one already die cut out of this green cardstock, which looked really, really sweet. So I've cut another one. And now I want to add my sentiment to some of this green cardstock too, so that it all coordinates. And I'm going to do some heat embossing, so something else that I really love to do. So I'm just stamping that with some of my embossing ink. And then I'm going to use some of this silver lining embossing powder that's from Thirsty Brush. And I love the metallic powders from Thirsty Brush. They're so, so pretty. I mean, just look at the liquid effect of that. It's really, really, really cool. So once my embossed sentiment has set, I'm going to cut that out using the coordinating dies. And again, these dies are really cool because they cut right around that sentiment strip, which is perfect. And I'm going to now do some more heat embossing on those arches. So like I mentioned, I wanted to add a bit more decoration, and we have some tiny little stamps within the stamp set that are perfect for fitting around the edges of your arches. So I'm starting with the star, and I'm just adding that in a pattern all the way around the largest of my arches, and using some of that same silver embossing powder just to add some of that to that embossing ink. And I'm just adding a couple of layers because I want to make sure that I've got a really good coverage on there. Now, I didn't use my anti-static powder on the cardstock beforehand, so do be careful to do that before you apply your powder, because you will have to do a bit of cleanup like I did there with my with a really fine brush where it had stuck to the cardstock where I didn't want it to. So that's just something to be aware of. And I did do that. I did do it properly with this particular piece. I learnt my lesson and made sure that I applied that anti-static powder first. And now we're going back in with some of that that silver embossing powder, and look at how amazing that looks. The shine on it is just fantastic in real life. And I used some of my tweezers there as well, just to hold on to that so that I didn't burn my fingers or pop my fingers into that powder before it was set. So I'm going to add a little bit of dimension with my foam pads here. So just a few on the back of that sentiment somewhere. And that's going to sit at the top centre of our back panel there. And again, I'm going to add some more of those pads to the largest of our arches. And just pop that in place. And I'm trying not to squeeze the arch together, because you want it to sit naturally, because if it doesn't, then you won't be able to fit your other arches comfortably inside it, if that makes sense. So just be aware of that when you're positioning it. I just needed to trim some of the foam pads down on this particular arch because they were a little bit wider, but that seemed to work okay. And the centre arch, you'll notice that I did that flat to my background. Again, that just gives a little bit of difference in dimension and a little bit of extra interest. For our little clouds, I love the green. I think that worked really well. That was a really happy accident. So I'm going to use some foam pads on the bottom and then some of my liquid glue across the top where that's going to stick to those arches. And that would just means that they're nice and flush against our rainbow. I've done the same on both of those. And I just wanted to add a little bit of sparkle to my clouds to finish off. And I've got this clear sparkle jelly roll pen, and this creates a silvery sparkle line. So I'm just lining drawing around the edges of those clouds to create that little bit of sparkle. And again, it's hard to see on screen here, but in real life, that does have a really lovely sparkly finish. So before I show you the pictures, let's move on to the competition and giveaway for this week. It's to win one of these cards, one of the Christmas cards that I produced on the Create and Craft show on Monday. And your question is, what stamps did I use to create our projects today? Just comment with your answer below and we'll randomly select a winner next week. So those are the cards that you could win. One of those. The question is about the card that we've made today. So what stamp set did we use to create these cards that are in front of you now? So that's the 2 cards that we've made today, and I really, really enjoyed making them. It was something different for me, like I say, because I wasn't doing any colouring as I would normally do. I really hope that you liked the project today and really liked the stamp set. If you did, then it would be great if you could like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back again with some more videos and Facebook Live next Thursday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye now.